Hey everybody, this is Mrs. Neller, and I'm going to walk you through the Google Sheet project for Chapter 5 in Business Math. And our goal for today is to design a spreadsheet that's going to calculate the amount of your monthly payment, that's interest, and the amount that's applied to the principal, so that we can figure out our payoff schedule and then also how to pay off the loan early. Okay? So it sounds really wordy, but it's actually a pretty easy Google spreadsheet, I think. Okay. So again, first thing we're going to do is we're going to open Google. We're going to make sure we're logged into our Google school account, and then we're going to open a new spreadsheet. Okay. So I'm going to go to Google. And there's lots of ways you can do this. You should be pretty good at it now, but double check that you're logged into your school account. You can click on the little waffle here, the little 9 dots, and you can just go right to Sheets if you'd like to do that. Okay. Otherwise, you can go to your Drive, and then when you're in your Drive, you can go to New, and then just click on the Google Sheets. So that will open up a brand new Google Sheet for you. Okay. Now, this is going to be our loan payoff project here. Okay, so that's what we're going to title our spreadsheet, loan payoff, and then put a dash and then put your name. Okay. So where it says untitled spreadsheet, just click on that and do loan payoff. Payoff is technically one word. And then put a dash, and then you can put your name. Okay. It'll automatically save it. If you want to star it, so that way it goes into your starred folder or file, so it's a little bit easier to find, you can do that if you'd like. Okay. But here's the situation that we're going to set up. Okay. We're going to be borrowing some money. Okay, we're going to borrow $6,500 for a loan. You can pretend you're taking this money out for whatever. Maybe it's a used car, maybe it's home improvements, maybe it's, I don't know, a fancy schmancy cruise or something like that. Anyway, you're borrowing money, and you're going to borrow it at a rate of 6.375. And that's actually kind of accurate, you know, like if you're borrowing from a bank, that's a crazy decimal, but that's like a real world amount that they would charge for an interest rate. And we're going to be borrowing this for 3 years. Now it says your monthly payment is $198.85. Okay. And we're going to make a scale first where we're going to borrow this money for 3 years. So that's going to be 36 months. So we're going to set up some columns in our spreadsheet where we've got the month, we've got the loan amount, the interest, the payment, the principal, and then any additional payment. So we're going to set it up first where we're paying this off over 3 years or 36 months, and then we'll tweak it so we can see how much additional amount we would have to pay in the principal so that we can pay off the loan early. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the spreadsheet then, and I'm going to, in my first cell here, I'm going to type the month. Okay, and then it was loan balance in the next one. And you can just hit tab and it'll go over to the next cell. Then we have interest and payment. And then after that, we had our principal and then additional. And those are just short abbreviations for what month it is, the loan balance, the interest that they're charging, the payment that you're going to have to make, the principal that goes towards your loan balance, and then the additional principal. So it's just short abbreviations for all of the information that we're going to be working with. Now, since these are our headings, I'm going to highlight across that row, and then I can hit bold, so that way they're a little bit easier to see. If you're using a different size font, you can adjust the column width as well. Remember, you just click on the little line in between the cells, it turns to a double arrow, and then you just click and drag it over. Okay, so if you need a little bit more room, you can go ahead and do that. And then we're going to put in 36 months. So this is going to take just a moment here. We're just going to type in all of our months. So we'll have 10, 11, 12, oops, 20, and then 21, 22, 23, and 24. Now when we'll eventually get to the end of the project, 24 will be when we'll want our final payoff amount, but we've got to continue on here until we get to 36. Okay, so it's probably really boring, but we've got 1 through 36 there in our first column. All right. Now our loan balance, the starting balance was the $6,500 that we borrowed. Okay. The interest, this is where we're going to type in how much we're going to calculate. Or this is where we'll type in our equation to figure out how much our interest is going to be. And it's going to change every month. Okay. So once we've gotten our step 8 done, did that already. We entered our 36 months for step 9, 1 through 36 there. Okay. So we entered the loan amount, that was the 6,500. So now I'm on this step here in cell 2. We're going to enter an equation to calculate the simple interest. So this is just our interest times our rate times our time. So we have the interest, that's or the principal, that's going to be whatever we have in cell B2. That for starting, that's our 6,500. Then we're going to multiply it by the rate, so we have to change our rate to a decimal, and then we'll multiply it by 1 divided by 12, and we have to put that in parentheses so the calculator in Google knows that it's a fraction, 1 divided by 12. Okay, just like we would do that in our calculator. So in the interest box, make sure you click on it, type equals, and then you can click on cell B2, and then do Shift 8, so you get the little star for times, and then we have to type in our rate, so that was 0.06375. Double check that real quick. Yep, 0.06375. And then I'm going to do Shift 8 again for the times, and then I'm going to do Shift 9 for the parentheses, 1 divide by 12, and then Shift 0 to close the parentheses. And then you can hit enter, and it should be about $34. Okay, so next step is going to be our payment, and the payment is going to be the same, okay? That was the $198 from up above. So just look up here for to the situation. It was $198.85. Okay. So we're going to enter that $198.85. And we can double check it if we need to. All right. Now the payment's going to stay the same every single time. Okay. So if you'd like, you can just click on cell D2, and then you can click on the little box and then drag it down. And we're going to do that coming up in a moment as well. But if you wanted to do that now, you could. Okay. So let's go back to our directions here and see what our next step was. Okay, so we entered our monthly payment amount, and now in cell E2, we're going to enter an equation to calculate how much of your payment goes towards the principal. Okay, so we're going to click on D2, and then we're going to subtract C2, and then we'll hit enter, and then that amount will appear. Okay, so we're going to go to the principal, and we're going to hit equals, and then it said to type D2. So when you type equals, remember sometimes Google pops up a little suggestion for you, so you can watch out for those. And then we've got our minus, and then we're going to do C2. Oops, C2, and hit enter. There we go. So that's going to be $168. So basically what that does is it takes your payment and it subtracts your interest. And then this amount, the 164, that is what actually goes towards paying off your loan balance. Okay. So for right now, the additional amount we're going to leave empty. If you want to put a 0 in there for now, you can. Okay. but then we're going to actually calculate how much the next month's balance will be. Okay? So we're going to go down now to cell B3, and then we're going to type B2, or click on B2, and then we'll subtract, and then we'll click on E2, and then we'll also subtract F2. Now F2 is going to be that additional amount. So for right now, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to subtract to 0, which is fine. Okay. So we're going to take B2. If we look back here, and we'll go to cell B3 and we'll hit enter. We're going to take the previous balance, which was B2, and then we're going to subtract our principal, which was E2, and then we'll subtract F2. So for right now, there's nothing in F2, but that's okay. And then hit enter. Okay, so I'll click back on that cell so you can see the little equation up above in the f of x box. So it was B2 minus E2 minus F2. Okay, so B2, E2, and then F2. So we can always double check our work with these directions here. Okay. All right, so now we're going to drag all of this information down. Okay, so we're going to click on cell B3, and we're going to click on the little blue square, and we're going to drag it all the way down to 37 because we had 36 months, and the first row was our titles. Okay, so we're technically going all the way down to 37 in the cell because we're starting on the second cell. Okay, so we're actually going to click on B3 here, and we're going to click on that blue square, and then you just drag it down. And if you go lower, woo, the screen automatically jumps down for you. Now I don't have anything filled in my other columns yet, so right now it's just putting the same information in over and over and over again. So don't freak out if it did that wrong, or if it looks like that, like it looks like it's wrong. It's not. As we fill in all the rest of the columns, the numbers will change, okay? So we clicked on cell B3 and drug that down. Now we're going to do cell C2 and D2 and E2. Okay, so we had to click on cell B3 because that had the new balance, but the interest calculation is going to be the same month after month after month. So we basically just don't want to drag down B2, but C2 and D2 and E2, we can do that. Okay, so again, click on the little square and just drag it straight down. Try not to go over to the right because that will apply it to the next column, and we don't want to do that. And then the payments. So again, I know the numbers all look the same, but as we do this, it'll change a little bit more. And then the last one as well. Here we go. Now it's about ready to change because now this is the amount that we have to subtract every single time. Boom, there we go. So now the numbers changed. So it's kind of boring for those first three, and then for the last one, everything ends up calculating. So if we go back to the top, you can see how we're starting out with 6,500, and then the next month it's 6,300, and then 6,100, 6,000, 58, 56, and so on. So it keeps getting smaller and smaller, your loan balance. Okay, so this is for 36 months. This is our schedule for 36 months. This is how much you'd have to, I mean, you're paying the same amount every single time. Notice that column D didn't change at all because you want your payment to be the same for these 3 years, but the balance is changing slowly. And this is our very last month. This is $197.75 that would be due. And then this would be how much we would actually end up putting towards our principal. So this part's a little bit more because it's going to cover that up. It's going to cover that cost. It's going to wipe it out. And if I extended this down one more row, you'd see how we would be 4 cents extra. Okay, there's a 4-cent difference there. So we would actually be paying 4 cents more. We wouldn't actually do that. When you are ready to pay off something, you call and you get an exact amount to the very penny. Okay, but this just shows how this column here in E would take out that amount in column B. It would you know, after our payment, we would have a balance of $0. We would actually be 4 cents ahead. Okay. So it kind of looks weird, but that would end up being our final payment there. Okay. So now we have to figure out how we're going to tweak this. Okay. So we're going to go to step 13 here, and we have to think about how we could maybe calculate a number that we would type into column F. Okay. Basically, we want to figure out how much additional money are we going to have to pay so that instead of paying this off after 3 years, we pay it off after 2 years. So we want to end up being a zero balance at month 24. Okay. So we've got to make 12 payments of, or we've got to save, I guess I should say, we've got to save 12 payments of $198.85. Okay, that's kind of our goal. So if we took that product, right, that $198 times 12, I can pull up a little calculator. Oh, I don't have my little calculator on here. But if we did 198.85 times 12, the product of that would be $2,386.20. Okay. Now we want to spread that out over 24 payments. Okay, so we could divide that by 24, and then you get about $99.43. Okay, so if we paid that exact amount every single month in addition, then it could help us pay off our loan faster. Okay, so let's try that. Let's put in $99.43. Okay, so $99.43. So now all the numbers change except for column B. That's going to stay the same. Okay, but everything went down a lot faster. Okay, now I'm going to take this box and I'm going to click on the blue square and I'm going to take it down. I don't want to take it down all the way to 36. I only want to take it down to 25. A little more. There we go. Down to 25 because that would be our 24th month. Okay, so now you can see here for my final payment, my balance would be $65. Okay, and I would end up paying $198. Okay, now clearly if that was my payoff, I wouldn't be paying that amount. Okay, I wouldn't pay $198 when I only have to pay $65. I would call them and say, hey, how much do I owe? And they would say, oh, $65. Okay, and actually we might not even have to go down to the 25th month. Okay, we could take out that last row. There we go, and we could pay it off on our true, well, that wouldn't be our true final payment there, would it? Okay, so we want to, whoa. Oh, yes, it would. That would be our 24th payment. Yes. Okay. So this is our, oh, there we go. There's our 25th column. There we go. This is our 24th payments. Okay, so I misspoke. We do want to have it right here on our 24th row. Okay, that's our 24th month. Okay, so this is what we want. So again, for B, we've got $65 here. That would be our balance, and we would actually be ready to pay the 198 and the 99, but we wouldn't really have to actually pay that much. We would only have to pay the $65. Okay, so that would get us paid off in 24 months. Now you can certainly tweak that amount if you'd want. You could go up to the top here and you could say, well, I don't want to add an additional $99.43. That's weird. I want to do like a whole number. So you could just say, okay, what if I did 100? Okay, but then you have to take that 100 and drag it down. So let's see if Google will type over the 99.43 if I drag this down. Yep, it will. Okay, so then if you're paying 100, then, oops, I didn't drag it down all the way to the 2030. Oh, yes, I did. Okay, so then here you actually have a little bit less. Okay, but you're still actually able to pay it off. So you have $51 due in that last month. You're set to pay the 198 and the additional 100. Okay, now that additional amount is going to go towards your principal, not the interest. Okay, and you can see how the interest gets smaller and smaller and smaller as we go down column C. Okay, so you could play around with this. Your answer doesn't have to be the $99.43. It doesn't have to be the $100. You might say, I want my payment to be a whole amount. So you could find $198.85 plus, something, plus $99 and so many other cents, or plus $98 and so many other cents. That gets you to like a whole dollar amount. Okay, some people like to do that. So you can play around with this number that you put into this column, okay, for the additional amount, but you have to make sure that when you go down to your 24th payment, you're able to pay it off. Okay, so this amount in E has to be enough to cover the amount in B, so that way you can pay the car off or whatever this loan is for. And notice that in the 25th month here, there's negative numbers. We're just kind of ignoring those. That's supposed to happen because then we would be paying more than we owe. So now we would be like investing. We would be putting our money into like a special savings account. And maybe that's what you could do with that extra money instead. If you pay off your loan early, maybe you could take your $200 and put that into a different account and start saving some money or something like that. So we're just kind of ignoring that part, okay? But that's what you want to look for. Whatever number you put into F, you want to look and make sure that the number in E24 is big enough to pay off the amount in B24. And then to really show that it's correct, Google will make B25 negative. It'll make it a negative amount, okay? So as long as you see those things happening in your spreadsheet, then you've done it correctly. So there's more than one correct answer here for how much additional money you should pay, okay? So in the directions here, I do have an example with the 99.43, okay? So that's just a way to double check your work, but again, you don't have to have that exact answer. And then once it's all done, make sure you save it to your Google Drive. It should save automatically. And then when you submit this in Google or in Canvas, make sure you select your file, your sheet from your Google Drive. Don't upload my directions, okay? Make sure that you upload your sheet, your project. And again, this will be worth 20 points. We'll go over it in class, and hopefully it'll be a quick, easy 20 points. It'll be a fun little activity with Google. And as always, if you have any questions, let me know.